You know, when you hear climate change, your mind probably jumps straight to greenhouse gases, right? Carbon dioxide, emissions. But what if that's only like half the story? We're going to talk about our planet's own built-in air conditioner. And trust me, understanding this could change everything. So let's get into it.
Okay, first things first, let's start with what we all agree on, the scientific consensus. The IPCC, that's the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, basically the world's top climate scientists. They've made it crystal clear. They say it's unequivocal that humans have warmed the planet. That's not up for debate, it's our starting point.
And we're not just talking in hypotheticals here. We have a number. The best estimate for how much we've warmed the planet since the Industrial Revolution is 1.07 degrees Celsius. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but for a whole planet, that is a massive, massive change. We're already feeling it. But here's where things get really interesting. The whole greenhouse gas story, it's absolutely vital, don't get me wrong. But is it the entire story? What if, by focusing so much on what's in the air, we've kind of missed a huge piece of the puzzle right here on the ground? What if there's another force at play that we're not talking about enough? So let's explore that. This idea that maybe we've been looking at an incomplete picture. We're going to have to kind of rethink how we view what actually creates and regulates our climate.
And this is where the big mind shift happens. See, we usually think of nature, forests, oceans, all of that, as victims. They're just getting hit by climate change. But what if they're not just victims? What if they're actually powerful, active players in the game, regulating the climate themselves? So let's break that down. The view we hear about most is all about atmospheric chemistry, greenhouse gases trapping heat. Fair enough. But there's a wider view. It doesn't throw that out, not at all. It just adds another huge layer, the physics of the land itself, how water and energy move around. And in this view, living systems aren't just victims, they are powerful regulators.
Okay, so how does this natural air conditioner actually work? I mean, how do living things cool the planet? Let's dive into the mechanics of it.
All right, there's a sciencey word for it, but the idea is super simple. Evapotranspiration. The easiest way to think about it? It's just the Earth sweating. Seriously. When you sweat, the evaporation cools your skin, right? Well, plants and soil do the exact same thing, just on a planetary scale. And to get this, you gotta understand there are two kinds of heat. There's sensible heat, that's the stuff you can feel. It's what makes a parking lot or a desert feel so incredibly hot. Then there's latent heat. Think of it like hidden heat. It's the energy that's used to turn liquid water into vapor. But here's the kicker. It does it without raising the temperature. That's the whole secret. So what does that mean? It means every single plant, from a giant redwood to a blade of grass in your lawn, is basically a tiny biological air conditioner. It's taking that heat that would normally just bake the ground and converting it into this latent heat to move water around. It's pretty amazing when you think about it. And the difference this makes is, well, it's staggering. We're talking a 20 to 40 degrees Celsius difference. That's huge. You felt it, right? The difference between standing on asphalt in the sun versus standing under a tree. This isn't some small niche effect. This is a major, major driver of local temperature. Now, this isn't magic. The heat doesn't just vanish. Think of it more like a heat elevator. The plant takes that energy, packs it into water vapor as latent heat, and sends it way, way up into the atmosphere. The heat gets released eventually, sure, but it's released up high, where it's not baking us down on the surface. And if you want to see this whole system in action on a truly massive scale, there's a perfect example. We just have to look at two different places on the globe that get about the same amount of sun. Which brings us to a really good question. Why is the Amazon rainforest, which is right on the equator, so much cooler and, more stable than a desert at the same latitude? They get blasted with the same sun. So what's the difference? Well, the answer is the life itself. The Amazon is just this absolute powerhouse of evapotranspiration. I mean, the entire rainforest is basically a giant engine, constantly pumping water vapor into the sky. It's using all that intense solar energy not to get hot, but to drive the water cycle, make clouds, and shuttle heat away from the ground. Now, compare that to a desert. Without all that vegetation, the desert has, well, no other option. Almost all of that solar energy just slams into the ground and turns directly into that sensible heat we talked about, the kind that bakes everything.
It's a perfect example of what happens when that planetary air conditioner gets switched off.
So, okay, understanding all this is cool, but it does more than just give us a new way to see the problem. It actually points to a really powerful and maybe overlooked part of the solution. And really, this is the key idea right here. When we talk about restoring ecosystems, regeneration, it's not just about biodiversity or storing carbon for some far-off future. It's direct climate repair. It's something that can literally cool down a place right here, right now. And it's this amazing chain reaction, right? You put plants back on the land, that kickstarts the water cycle again. That starts converting the harsh surface heat into that cool latent heat. And boom, you're actively cooling your local climate. It's a domino effect of healing.
So why is this whole perspective shift so important? Well, for one, it broadens our focus beyond just CO2. It shows us the incredible power we have just by managing land differently. It gives us a real, tangible way to cool our own backyards, our cities, our farms. And maybe most importantly, it's empowering. It means that restoring a landscape isn't just a nice symbolic gesture. It's a direct, hands-on climate solution. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. Cutting emissions is, without a doubt, non-negotiable. We have to do it. But what if repairing our planet's living air conditioner? What if regeneration is just as crucial? What if it's the other half of the solution that's been right in front of us this whole time?